All right. I want to do a video about I watched that movie Kids last night. I don't know if any of y'all have ever seen it. It's a good movie. It's a very disturbing movie. It's almost like a horror movie, but it's not but it's not a horror movie. It's like a drama. It's one of those disturbing drama movies. You know what I mean? Now, when I was a kid and I saw that movie, I was like, "Oh, this is cool." I was like looking up to them. Now, when I watch that movie, I'm like, like I can't even believe anyone let me see that when I was a kid. Like it that people don't realize what an impact music and movies have on culture. So, but here's the thing, Manhattan at that time in the 90s, it was really like that from what I've heard. I wasn't there at the time. I'm from Long Island originally. I'm from Valley Stream, Long Island. That's where I was born, right outside of Queens. And then my father retired from the fire department, and we moved to Florida when I was like 13. So when I watched that movie, I was in Florida, and I didn't know my way around Manhattan at the time. When I watch that movie now, I'm like I can tell you what part of Manhattan they're in at any given time in that movie. But I thought the movie was like real cool, and I was like, me and my friends in Florida were similar to this. We weren't as bad, I gotta say. We weren't as ruthless as these kids, but this movie probably had somewhat of an impact on our behavior now that I'm thinking back on it, because when I was a kid, we were just all we cared about was partying. That was all we cared about, and it was similar to that movie, really, honestly. And so I'm like, damn, this thing had probably a major impact on like Generation X. But so I want to talk about Casper, who he's like the co-star of the movie, but he ends up kind of stealing the show. You know what I mean? The dude Telly is, I guess you could say, he's the star of the movie, but Casper ends up kind of stealing the show. And I'm sitting there watching this movie last night. Now I'm like 100% sober now, which I gotta say, it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be. I'm pretty bored. I'm having difficulty sleeping, but this is what happens you know, when you quit smoking weed and stuff. It's going to be a bit of a transition. I accept that. I'm pretty much determined to stay sober at this point. So it's not like I'm sitting there like, oh, I wish I. No, I'm just like, I'm bored, bro. So what I do when I'm bored is I'll watch a movie. So last night I was watching Kids. Now, the dude Casper, I'm sitting there watching this movie and I'm like, damn, these kids are amazingly good actors. Like, why aren't they more famous? They're so good. The acting is so on point in that movie. It's almost like a documentary. It, I mean, I'm the there's I'm not going to give away any spoilers in this movie because I'm not really about to talk about the movie. I'm talking about um, the people in the movie. So what ended up happening was they I looked into it, and the kid who played Casper is now dead. He he offed himself in Las Vegas, and I was thinking to myself, what the hell? This kid was about to probably be real famous. Here's another interesting thing. That kid was like a semi-pro skateboarder. His name was Justin Pierce, and he was part of that whole Zoo York crew with all the Supreme crew and all that shit. Which nowadays Supreme, it's like if Supreme makes a coffee mug, they're gonna sell it for like $100. It's like Supreme's like the cool, one of those cool skateboarding brands. I guess I'm not into skateboarding, but I've seen Supreme crap all over the place in New York and in Florida. But so, that. And here's another funny thing. I personally know a dude who was in that whole crew. His name's Harry Jumanji, Harry OG Jumanji. So I met Harry at the Internet Cafe, which when I was living at the internet cafe when I was homeless, I Harry Jumanji. I at first I didn't want anything to do with the dude. I thought he was just some sort of crackhead lunatic. But as I got to know him, I really liked him. I was like, wow, this guy's cool, man. And then, you know, just being around him and hearing about him, as it turns out, he's one of those original, Zoo York people who were like they were like pro skateboarders back in the '90s and shit. Anyways, um, here's an example of Jumanji. I was leaving the internet cafe in Chinatown, and I'm walking down the street, and fucking Jumanji just materializes next to me, walking right next to me, and he just goes to hand me a blunt. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm on my way to make money. He's like, all right. He's like, you want some coffee? I'm like, all right. I was thinking he was gonna like pour some coffee in a cup. He pulls out a plastic bag with with ground up coffee in it, and he's like trying to give me some ground up coffee. I'm like, nah, bro, I'm good. What am I gonna put coffee in my pocket? Like, this is like Jumanji was broke, but whatever little bit he had, he was always willing to like share it with people. You know what I mean? He was one of those type of people. Anyways, so and I think Jumanji was so back in them days there was squats in New York, which a squat is basically like a building where like the homeless just take it over. And a lot of the young homeless kids were living in squats in the 90s and early 2000s in New York. Pretty much right when I showed up on the street, the squats had pretty much been eliminated not long before that. But so some of the famous squats in New York City was there was C Squat, which was on Avenue C in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. There was the Bat Cave, which was a squat in Brooklyn. And then apparently this dude Casper in that movie was staying at a squat on the Upper West Side called the Dungeon, which was just some basement on the Upper West Side with a bunch of young homeless kids staying in it. And so what it, the point here is these kids were actually New York street kids. They weren't even actors. That's why they're acting so good because they're just being themselves. You know what I mean? So the dude Telly apparently is from New Jersey, but he used to hang out with that whole skateboarding crew. So what ended up happening now this is why I really can't stand Hollywood. This is what bothers me. When I started looking into this dude Paul Justin Pierce, the dude who played Casper, I'm like, why would he off himself? He's about to like change his life. He's about to go from living on the street, homeless, which is a brutal existence, absolutely hell on earth. This is why them kids were just getting wasted 24/7. It you know, being a sober homeless person under those circumstances is very difficult. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. There's two types of homeless people, the way I see it. There's the type who, well, it's really not this simple, but in a way, there's two types of homeless people. There's the type who try very hard not to commit crimes. They answer to God. They don't, they understand that whatever happens externally in the physical world is not as important as your spiritual health and your spiritual evolution. And then there's the type who are completely disillusioned with the physical world. They feel like I played by the rules my whole life, and this is where I ended up. And they're bitter, they're nasty, they're angry, they're willing to commit crimes. They don't want to deal with reality. They just want to be wasted all day. They don't care no more. It's um, they're living in my opinion, in a worse version of hell than the other type of homeless people who are still trying to maintain their humanity, you know? But so the way this kid, Justin Pierce, ended up homeless was apparent. Now, I was reading a lot about the kid last night because I was like blown away by the whole thing. I'm like, damn, it could have been me, you know? And so, um, I'm reading about him. Apparently, he was born in England, but they moved to New York City when he was very young, and they lived in a not so nice part of the city. It was like the South Bronx in the '90s, which is, I mean, the South Bronx is a rough place, and so this is why that kid Casper comes off as so like gutter. He's from the gutter. And so what happened was, but not just that, his parents apparently divorced when he was 15. And then that like really upset him. and then his mother moved him to Pennsylvania. Now I get it. You can, going from the middle of Manhattan, New York City, where you know it, it's a very exciting, amazing place, then to the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. What he ended up doing was moving back to New York City by himself when he was like 15, 16, and he was just staying in that squat in the Upper West Side with other homeless kids. That dude Harold, the black dude in Kids, he ended up ODing after the movie. So, um, so here's the thing: they they got a taste of the Hollywood life with the movie Kids. They were put in that movie, and they were famous. They were celebrities for a minute there, and so they tried to continue with the acting career. What they didn't realize is Hollywood is a bunch of snakes and rats. And I've been on the outskirts of the entertainment industry. It's the nastiest. It's um, kind of the worst people you can imagine. A lot of the people in the entertainment industry are the type who will do anything to be famous, and I mean anything. No, doesn't matter how, you know, you got to put up with a lot of disrespect from a lot of people you normally would not put up with anything from, but since they all want to be rich and famous, they're putting up with it. You got to sell your pride. You got to sell your self-respect in a lot of ways to make it in the entertainment industry. Um, I guess there's some I'm not even I know some comedians who got famous, and um I just wonder like what if they had to put up with any of this type of um degenerative disrespect and shit. But anyways, so I was looking into the dude Justin Pierce. What ended up happening was, you know, he started getting other roles in movies and shows and stuff. And then I seen that he was in that movie Next Friday. Now, the first Friday I watched, I thought it was funny. I think they made one or two sequels. I never bothered watching them because Chris Tucker was the only part of Friday worth watching. He was funny, he was entertaining. The rest of the movie's just kind of stupid. And so once I seen Chris Tucker was not in the Next Friday, I was like, "Nah, I'm not watching that. It's basically Friday minus the good part." And so I never watched the movie. But when I was looking into Justin Pierce last night, I seen it said he plays Roach in Next Friday. I'm like, what the hell kind of name is Roach? And so I look up his scenes in the movie, and to be honest, I could only even watch one of them. The amount of disrespect. So he plays this dude. I guess I don't even know who the comedian's name is in Friday. It's some black comedian. I don't know his name. Maybe it's Epps, something Epps or something. I don't know. He co-stars with Ice Cube in the movie. But so the one scene I watched with Justin Pierce in it, who's Casper, who is bigger than life. He's like, Casper was one of them characters you'll never forget him. He's like next level, like I mean, there's people who like worship Casper, you know what I mean? Anyways, I'm watching his scene in Next Friday, and I don't like what I'm seeing at all. So first of all, his name is Roach. Second of all, he's um, hit the way they introduce him. Ice Cube come. I don't know. I didn't watch the movie, but so he's working with the dude in the store, the other Ice Cube's co-star, some some hack comedian. I'm sure he's not funny at all. But oh wait, hold on. Is someone there? I thought somebody was going to come up and talk. No. All right. So, anyways, when they introduce Ice Cube to him, he's like, "Oh, this is my white slave, Roach." And I'm like, "Damn, that's mad disrespectful, bro. Like, I don't care what you pay me. You ain't putting me in no movie naming me Roach and calling me white slave. I can tell you right now, I don't. You ain't. My pride ain't for sale like that. 20 years ago, probably, yeah. Roach, yeah, I'm the white slave. Probably I would have been like that. but not now. I've been through too much in my life, anyways. So, um, and then if someone's calling on the phone or something, and Roach is like, oh, what is it? And they're like, oh, this is black people business. It's not for you to worry. I'm like, damn. So apparently, right after that movie wrapped, they were in Vegas and they were supposed to be signing autographs in a mall or something, and the dude Justin Pierce offed himself because and there was apparently two suicide notes which were never made public. But I can tell you, my guess is coming from a somewhat similar background and living under similar circumstances. When you're out there like that and you're living in hell on earth, it toughens you up in a lot of ways. But you don't want to live like that. You don't want to deal with it no more. It's hard. It's a very harsh, hard existence. But it also hardens you in a lot of ways where you're like, you ain't disrespecting me, motherfucker. The shit I've been through, yeah, I ain't having it, bro. Like, you gonna respect me or, So, anyways, the kid ended up basically selling his bride to be a potential movie star. And I think my guess is he offed himself because he realized that Hollywood had taken away his power and his strength and turned him into, you know, someone who's going to do anything for money. And that's just, the things that probably went on behind the scenes. Who knows? Hollywood is a messed up place full of messed up people. And so my guess is in his suicide notes, which they never made public, he was probably saying, I would rather be dead than live like this as Roach being disrespected and shit on in public, and God knows what's going on behind closed doors. And for someone who comes from a tough background, it makes it even harder to allow these people who could not last 5 minutes in your world to be treating you like shit. And oh, it's just a movie. No, I don't care about like it's not just a movie. It's you know I'll put it to you this way: you're not going to put me in a movie where I'm doing anything that I would not um accept in reality. You're not going to name me Roach. You're not going to call me white slave. You're not going to order me around. None of that shit. Um, you're not going to have me doing any um, gay, none of that, nothing like that. There's no money in the world that's gonna have me acting, or doing, fuck all that. So what ended up happening was, yeah, I believe he ended up kind of selling his pride and self-respect, and he couldn't deal with it. He couldn't live with it, and it's a shame. What he should have done was once he realized the part he was supposed to play in that movie, he should have said, fuck you. And I'm not doing it. And fuck your money. Fuck your movie. I'd rather go back out on the street. That's what I would say now. But now here's an interesting thing now. Um, my buddy Ilya, one of my best friends, they did that movie Heaven Knows What. It's a similar thing to Kids where they just kind of hired street people from New York to put them in the movie. Ilya didn't make, they gave Ilya a couple $100 for that. All those kids in that movie, kids, they got like $1,000 a piece. They didn't get shit for it really. And so, um, Ilya basically. Here's the thing: they put you at now. Ilya wasn't in the movie, but one of the main characters in the movie is based on Ilya's life. They should have gave him a cut of the profits, in my opinion, because you know. The, they're giving these like homeless street kids a taste of the good life, and then they don't give them shit after that. And if they want to escape the hell that they're living in, they've got to, you know, they gotta be a sock puppet, basically. And so, but Ilya, like, he was dead before that movie came out. I think. Oh no, he was still alive when that movie came out, but he wasn't alive for very long after that. But you can't blame the people who make the movies and stuff. But here's the thing: a lot of people, like they think uh, here's the strange thing about the world. A lot of things that seem like a blessing end up being a curse. A lot of people who win the lotto end up broke real soon after. A lot of actors end up doing a lot of messed up things, and at the end of the day, they really don't like themselves. And here's the other funny thing. Now, I had opportunities to do foul things for lots of money when I was homeless. I couldn't. There was many times where um, older dudes, would offer me money to be a prostitute. I guess you could say. I never took it. Now, here's the thing. I know, like, when you've been through the shit I've been through, and you've been at the bottom of life, where death would be a blessing, and you're still turning down money to keep your self-respect, it turns you into a somewhat indestructible person. Like, at this point in my life, after being through what I've been through and still maintaining my pride and self-respect, ain't nobody buying me for nothing. You know what I mean? You can throw me out, throw me back out in the gutter. I don't give a. I'm gonna be all right. You know, I've been through it all, and that shit don't even scare me no more. Do I enjoy it? Do I want it? No. But I'll rather deal with that than let these sneaky snakes and rats have anything on me, or push me into doing anything I don't want to do. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and that's where I'm at in life. I'm not for sale. You know what I mean? So they put these homeless street kids in New York. They give them a little taste of the good life, and then them kids, they're willing to do anything to go to stay on that side of life instead of going back to hell where they were. So um, here's the other thing about when I was in that movie, I didn't even want to pursue acting. I didn't. Once I was in a movie and I saw what the whole thing is, I was like, this is everyone thinks this is so great. It's not that much different than any other regular job. I had to sit there for 9 hours, even though I was only in that movie for like 5 minutes. I had to sit there for 9 hours, and it was it, it was just like any other job. I mean, it's personally, I'd rather be outside working and building things than sitting inside doing nothing, waiting for 9 hours to do my little scene, and then sitting there and waiting, because you can't just come and go. They're filming and shit's happening. You can't be in the background opening doors and going in and out. I couldn't even go out and smoke a cigarette when I wanted. It was like I was like locked in. The scene was filmed in the Queens jail, and so I had to sit in jail all fucking day. I couldn't eat until they told me it was time to eat. I couldn't go eat what I wanted. I had to eat what they gave me. It's just like any other job. People think like, oh, I want to be an actor. It's not all it's cracked up to be. But when you're coming from a background like on the street and shit, it's a lot easier than going out and trying to hustle up money every day. You don't understand the kind of pressure that is waking up every single day with nothing, knowing you got to go out there and somehow hustle up some money, legally or illegally. Ain't nobody gonna help you, ain't nobody gonna give you nothing. And, it's a lot harder than working a regular job. But so, but here's the thing with me. Once I was in that movie, I realized like I don't want to be an actor. Stand-up comedy is more my thing. It's a lot more it's a lot more independent than acting. It's like you're kind of your own boss if you do it right. But so I was like, and here's the thing: I was in a movie with lines, which means I only have to be in two more movies with speaking roles, and then I'm automatically in the union, apparently. And once you're in the union, you can pretty much demand work in New York or LA, like any film set, you can just walk on. And this is what I heard. I don't know if it's true. if it's true, let me know in the comments. But what I heard is once you've been in three movies with speaking roles, you're automatically like grandfathered into SAG-AFTRA or whatever, the union. And once you're in the union, you can work, you have the right to like work on any union film being filmed. They pretty much have to give you a job if you want one. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true, but that's what they were telling me. Once I had the speaking role in that movie, they were like, "All you need is two more, and you're in." And I was like, I was considering it for a minute there. I was like, "Wow, that's simple. Then I could just be a working actor, you know?" But it's hard for me to explain. But my intuition was telling me it's not for you. It's pointless. It's not your path. I don't know how else to explain it, but thank God because I could have ended up just like Casper or Harold, the black dude from Kids who ended up ODing because apparently he just couldn't get no movie roles and he just got super depressed and offed himself with cocaine. Apparently, that's what I heard. I don't know if it's true. Um, So I guess the point of this movie is, or I mean, the point of this video is, it's way more important, believe it or not, to stay true to yourself and worry about your spiritual evolution and your character as a person than this external shit. Money comes and goes, man, and I'm telling you, I'm speaking from experience. I've been in the worst financial situations you can imagine where you're on the street waking up every day with nothing. It's hell on earth, and lots of people choose to die but other than live that way. But here's the thing, I'm telling you from experience, once you harden yourself and you're determined to continue to live, you become in a lot of ways indestructible and unobtainable. Like they couldn't. If they offered me $10 million right now to go do something on film that does not agree with me, um, I wouldn't do it. Because I've been through enough in life to know that money comes and goes, and it doesn't even matter. It's all bullshit. What actually matters in this world is your soul. I don't know how else to explain it, but here's the thing, all the money in the world is not going to make you feel better if you can't stand yourself. You know, it ain't going to make a difference. And if you're out on the street and you ain't got no money and you got to bust your ass hustling and doing hard things every day to make money, as long as you're at peace with yourself, it's doable. Um, if you still got your pride and your self respect, like you're better off out on the street with nothing but your pride and your self respect and a connection to God than you are out in Beverly Hills with a bunch of fake people and a bunch of material bullshit, which means nothing at the end of the day. And then at the end of the day, you can't stand yourself. That's another version of hell. So these street kids, they think they're escaping hell. They're not. They're jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. So hopefully this video makes sense. I didn't even mean to make one this long. But let me uh, let me watch this video and see if I want to post it. I appreciate every single one of y'all. Thanks for the subs. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the tips. Thanks for the Patreon especially. And I guess I'll see you on the next one. Everybody have a good one.